Well, today when I'm recording this is actually the 18th, or sorry, the 19th of December, but you won't see this until Christmas Day. So I hope everybody is having a good Christmas, or holiday if you don't happen to celebrate Christmas or anything like that. We're going to be doing a PC build today, but as I'm making this right now, I don't have all the parts, so I'm going to have to wait to get all of those, but I figure that at least in the meantime, we can go ahead and have a look at the case. It's just some Antec scrap that I picked out of, well, scrap. Used to have a Core 2 Duo in it, in a Windows Vista COA. Yuck. I don't really like how this is bowed out like this, but... And of course, it's an older case, so it's only got USB 2.0 on the front, which kind of sucks. I don't even know if modern motherboards have USB 2.0 on them, but I guess I'm going to find out. It's in fairly decent shape. I mean, there's this little cutout in the front, but I don't really care about that. It's a little dirty. I figure it's a decent case. It's going to get thrown away, so might as well use it for this and save myself about $50 to $100 on a case. Of course, if I could get it turned around here, we can actually look at it. There we go. I'm surprised at the card of ports that this motherboard does not have. There's no PS2, and I know that this is a socket 775 board. Really kind of surprised to see that it doesn't have PS2. Certainly got plenty of USB, though. Of course, the board's no good, and that's why this thing was thrown away. Nice little vent in the back that the camera won't focus on. Unfortunately, it's got these dumb, thin card retention slots, but I guess it doesn't really matter too much. If I'd remembered, I would have brought some slot blanks home, because I can't find the ones that I got here, so. And a piece of junk power supply. I don't know what it is, but we're going to pull the cover on this thing and find out. Maybe I'll even remove some of these dumb stickers that are on the back. But I got to get this screw out so I can pull the top panel off. Alright, there it is with the cover off. You have a look at what's inside. There's your socket 775. Right there, it says LGA 775 on the board. It's an Intel board. All the capacitors look okay, so not real sure what happened to it. Not that I really care. It's got a lot of good quality capacitors on it. I can't really tell what they are. United Chemicon KY over there. Those ones, those brown ones. Don't know what these green ones are, because I can't read them very well. Sanyo. So all the capacitors are good quality on this. Probably a chipset problem, if I had to guess. So I already got a SATA cable right there. It's pretty nice. This case is organized pretty nicely. Standard front panel stuff. Looks like all of that. What's this? I wonder what that actually is. I don't know. It's going straight to the power supply, whatever it is. That's interesting. I guess I'll find out what that's going to. Maybe the power LED? That would be my guess. I guess that would make sense, that is the power LED, because that'd be the only thing that I can possibly guess. I see a business card in the bottom of this that I didn't notice before. Oh, anyway. Okay, explosion if the battery is replaced. I don't know what kind of battery they're talking about. Maybe this one? But I don't think there's really much else that I can think of to talk about with this. It's just a standard system. I'm probably going to pull out all the mess. And I might mount these fan headers external to the case so I can access them a little bit better. These, not the fan headers, but the little speed adjustments for the fan. Because these have fan speed control. They're wired for the low spot right now. I almost wondered if for a second you could put 3 drives in there, but nope, doesn't look like it. So, this is actually just completely open to the bottom of the case. I didn't even notice that until now. So I guess the idea is you put screws in the bottom there. That wouldn't be too bad, really. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this board out, pull this power supply out, because I'm not going to use it. It's probably just some junk 350 watt thing. I mean, look at this. Oh, I didn't even know that was a legal thing to do, but I guess it is. So, I'll get this out of here, and we'll continue to have a look at the case. Okay, I'm probably actually going to leave this in there. I might make use of it, because I don't really have much use for expansion cards in a system like this. I do need a dedicated video card, but I got one of those. That'll take up these 2 slots here. But other than that, not really much. Let's see what power supply this is. If I can get it out of here. Oh, it's still plugged into this. I could just pull this out. Is that even screwed into the case? It doesn't even have any screws to go into the case. Wow, that's awful. I thought it did. Maybe it's supposed to. It's just missing them. But I'm going to get that off of there. And we'll look at this power supply. Yep, just as I suspected, this is a piece of crap. Featherweight. What does it say? XP 480, 400 watts. Yeah, 400 milliwatts is more like it. Pentium 4 ready. Yeah, so I'm just going to scrap that. That's completely worthless. Okay, so I pulled the board out of the case. Get all that taken care of. It's a little dirty. I can't actually get this off, so I don't know what it is. It's on there pretty good. So I'm gonna just leave it alone. Maybe I'll change these fans over. They're a little dirty too. I might clean them out, but they should be fine. This little connection here. So all that should be okay. Oh, I had this. I was going to show you that. Give me just a second. There it is. In place there. It does have screws to hold it in the case that I don't have. It also had little rubber grommets. I do have those, but I don't have the special screws you need to take advantage of the rubber grommets, so I'm just not going to use them. I'm going to do what I did similar with that other Antec case, and I'm going to just screw them straight to the metal. Probably not good for them, but I don't really care. So it should work. Should work out really nice. It looks like these standoffs are in pretty standard positions. There's one missing here, which I don't know how I feel about that. But I'm just hoping that all the standoffs are going to line up with the new motherboard. Looks like a pretty standard ATX setup, though, so I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. Pulled out the I/O shield, all that. Power supply is out of the case. Maybe I'll install a new power supply while I'm here. Probably not, though. I'll probably wait until I get everything situated, and then I'll put in the new power supply. Oh, that reminds me, the other thing I had to do. I had to take out that IDE optical drive. And I'll probably also take out the blanking plate in the front of the case, because I might buy myself, because I am going to need it. I'm going to put in another 5 1/4 inch adapter. I'm probably going to buy a full one that actually goes up to the front of the case. And do it that way. Whoops, left the camera light on, but it looks like somebody felt the need to install all 8 screws in this optical drive. That's kind of annoying. It's one of these LG DVD. It looks like it's a DVD burner, but I don't know. I don't really like these things. They tend not to work at the best of times. But I guess I'll find out if this one works. I'll go get out my little test jig. Okay, I got it hooked up now. Let's see if it will eject or if the tray belt is blown like these things always are. If it's making good enough contact. Yep, sounds like the tray belt's blown. Piece of junk. What if there's a disc in it? It was flashing the light at me a second ago, but I don't hear any disc in there. I'm gonna find out, though. Nope, no disc. Junk. Just gonna put that in with the pile of the other scrap. Then I'll have to go get the parts for this. I'm gonna use some non-politically correct verbiage here, so If you don't want to listen to that, you'd be best not watching this part of the video. But anyway, I've got this hooked up because I'm genuinely curious whether or not it's going to work. And I scrounged up an Intel Core 2 Duo E8200 CPU. I don't know if it's going to work on this board, because there were 4 different listings for the same S-spec, and all of them said something completely different, so I don't know what the deal is there. But I got this featherweight piece of crap power supply, because I don't really care. It has the 24-pin. That's all that matters to me, at least. I found this cooler, and here's where the non-politically correct verbiage comes in. I can't believe that Intel thought these retarded plastic pushpins were actually a decent design. They're not. They're crap. Man, what a pain in the ass. So, if it blows up, it blows up. I guess we're going to find out. Oh. Came on, I have a red light. Here's my cooler. Nothing on the video, so I'm assuming that we've got a problem. I have to look up what that red light means. Oh, hold on a minute. I just saw something come up on the screen. So I'm gonna route this a little bit better. That's what I'll do. Guess it just takes it a while to post. I don't want to run it too long because there's no heatsink compound on that CPU, and I'm sure it'll burn up. Yeah, look at that. Wow. No bootable device. So it actually is a good board. So you know what I'm going to do? I bet the only thing that was wrong with it was the power supply. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to save that board, and I'm going to put that into something else, because I'm sure that's going to be really useful for something. Probably even use it to replace that system down there, the Dimension 5150. But I have to find a case for it first. I got all the tasty goodies to put in that old Antec case now. Some of it's not going into it, like this. This over here is not for this project. This actually is, but there's that. That isn't for this project, and neither is any of that. We'll probably do an unboxing video on this one, though. Eventually. You'll see that. Here we go. I haven't built a new computer since Haswell was brand new. So I forgot how expensive it was. I blew almost an entire paycheck on all this junk. This actually was a Christmas present, so I didn't pay for that. That would have drove the cost up to an insane level. Check that out. R5 2600, 6 cores, 12 threads. The only problem is that it needs discrete graphics, but I have that taken care of. I have a card I'm going to reuse. Hopefully. I hope it works. I guess I'm going to find out. But this should be, I think if I remember right, it's a 3.4 gigahertz base clock and 3.9 turbo. I don't actually remember. But still, 6 cores and 12 threads is probably going to blow the doors right off of that thing. So, there's that. There's the CPU. Here's the RAM. It's not anything particularly fancy, no RGB or anything like that. It's fairly cheap RAM, relatively speaking. It was still fairly expensive, but 16 gigs of DDR4 3000. It's the first time I've ever used DDR4 in anything. So, we'll see how that works. Relatively future-proof as well, being the 3000. I think this CPU can only take advantage up to 2933. I guess we're going to find out. That's a pretty odd number. So, here's the motherboard. Nice Gigabyte B430M, B450M, DS3H. Apparently I can't read. Like how it says Spanish on the side there. And actually it's for ultra durable. Hope that's not going to be a problem. But it does say ultra durable up there. And all these other features down here. RGB fusion. Don't really care about that. Socket AM4, which is what this CPU is. There's a DVI cable. I may or may not take advantage of that. Got a Molex to SATA adapter for the power supply if I need it. Couple of DVI to VGA adapters. I am going to need one of these, at least one, depending upon if I use the DVI. I might need both of them. Little wireless thing, just wireless end. It was cheap. I don't really care None of my equipment is wireless AC, so I think at some point down the road when wireless AC becomes cheaper and I have more of that kind of equipment, I will probably buy an upgrade for that. But I accidentally bought 2 of these, actually. These, they say SSD Now on them. I think they're Kingston brand. 2.5 to 3.5 inch drive bay adapters. Probably only going to end up using one. I think I can only use one. So, no 5.25 inch adapter. I do need one of those, but I've got one that I can reuse. So at least I think I have one that I can reuse. If not, I'm going to have to scrounge one up. So, and as far as the rest of it goes, this is a Kingston A400 240 gigabyte SSD that I picked up for $60. These things have gotten impressively cheap. I remember when $60 wouldn't even get you 64 gigs. But, so yeah, I think this is actually the newer version of the 300 that I've got in a laptop sitting around here somewhere. It's a pretty good drive. So, we'll see if that's any good. And, of course, just because I have this 1 terabyte Western Digital Blue, 64 megs of cache. It is 7200 RPM, so the black was basically no different there. If I got the 500 or the 750, it would have mattered, but since it's a 1 terabyte, it doesn't really matter. Might as well save a little bit of cost going for the blue drive. I don't really know if the black, it probably would have had maybe a little bit more cache memory, but at this point, who cares, you know? This new system is still, even with some of its limitations, going to just simply blow the freaking doors right off of that old dual-core, hyper-threaded Ivy bridge. So, I'm hoping this is all going to work out, because that was pretty expensive. So, I guess we'll find out. Reusing parts will allow me to save quite a bit of money as well. I think if I had to buy all brand new parts, this would have maybe come up probably over $1,000. And I was able to shave quite a bit of cost off of that. So, but I gotta stop yanking and start working, because I really want to put this together. Alright, time to get serious. Here's the Gigabyte motherboard. Should be very nice. I like Gigabyte boards. They actually work, unlike the Asus ones. I don't know if I'm going to actually end up using that or not. I would like to have an optical drive. And I know that my power supply only has 4 power connectors, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to put all 4 drives that I want to put in the machine into the machine, because I wasn't able to find 3.5 to 2.5 inch adapters that will take 2 drives, unless the ones that I did get will. So, not much to say about these. So I'll put them somewhere. This is actually the first AMD build that I have done, probably ever, actually. I can't remember if I've ever done any AMD builds, because most of the time I was speccing Intel stuff, because the only AMD system I ever had as a daily driver, some of you who've been around here long enough have probably heard about it, and if you've been around here really long, you may have even seen videos shot with it or about it. That Toshiba Satellite L300D040 was my only main rig with an AMD CPU in it, and that thing was a horrendous piece of crap. I could not wait to get rid of that, so I pretty much swore off of AMD after that, but I think that this one will be great for what it is, and frankly, the comparable Intel chips are just crap, so a lot more expensive, and you don't even get all the features that you get with this. I just realized it says right on it. 3.9 gigahertz max boost and 3.4 base. It says discrete graphics card required. So let me show you the completely ridiculous video card I'm going to put in this thing. Yeah, check out this old monster. Probably not really anything worth using, but have you priced video cards these days? They're like $400 for anything decent. So if I can shave $400 off the cost of building this machine, yeah, sign me up for that. So, well, I'm going to get this out of the way, and I'm going to get this unpackaged and put the CPU and the cooler on this. Ah, here it is. Blackety black. It's been a long time since I've done a computer build. Looks like you get the PCI-express, you get an X16, an X1, and an X4. Well, it's a full-size slot, at least it looks like it. So, no crossfire here, but of course, who cares? And it looks like I'm even going to be able to take advantage of my front panel USB 2.0, so that's really cool. I was not expecting to see that. Also, looking at the I.O. on this back of this thing, plenty of USB 3.0, and there's actually a PS2 port over here on the side. That's another thing I was kind of surprised to see. I would have thought they would have got rid of that. The only thing that is of slight concern to me is whether or not my power supply is going to work. It does have an 8-pin connector, but I don't know if it's the correct one. So I guess I'm going to find out. But it's got, let's see, I saw 2 front panel fan connections. I think there's only the 2. Of course, that's fine. I don't really care. So you've got an M.2 slot if you want to put an SSD in that. Maybe some point down the road I'll take advantage of that. But for now, I'll just use the old stuff. 4 serial ATA. Wow, it's only got 4 serial ATA. Well, looks like I will not be doing what I was planning to do in the first place anyway, so don't need that Molex to SATA adapter after all. So I was really expecting it would have a few more serial ATA ports on it than that, but they're all going to be SATA 3 6 gigs, so that's not too bad. The front panel will probably be the most difficult thing to hook up. And I don't even have the power LED for that. That's hooked in straight into the case. You hook that into the power supply. I'm trying to think, is there anything else that is worth noting about this, other than the fact that it doesn't have those dumb plastic push pins like Intel seems to think is acceptable. Proper mounting setup. Really looks good. Budget board. Should be more than good enough for what I need, though. If I need anything better, it's very easy to upgrade. And that's the other reason why I went. Just noticed my autofocus wasn't on. Oops. It's another reason why I went with the with a desktop as opposed to another laptop, is because the desktop, you can upgrade everything in it, including the motherboard, and you can even upgrade your case and all that. The laptop, you're stuck with what you have. If you want to upgrade your board to accept a newer CPU, or maybe change your case out for something a little bit better, well, you're going to have to buy a whole brand new system. So, well, I will see how this RAM goes. You don't get a, well, you do, I think you do get a book. I'll have to see if I can get out the book. But I'm going to mount this CPU before I put it in the case. And of course, I got to go get the case. So, I will be right back. Okay. Here is the CPU package. Have it in a nice little thing there. Here is the cooler, which of course I am going to use. So, let me get all of this installed. Okay, probably should just turn the video light on. This thing is impressively dark. But, have it installed. A couple of things to note about this. I didn't show it because I was afraid that I would do something wrong. And I already have done something wrong. I forgot to hook up that. So I'll have to remember to do that before I put it in the case. But it's kind of a, if I don't show it, people complain that I didn't show it. And if I do show it and do something ever so slightly wrong, somebody's going to complain, "Hey, you did it wrong. Oh, crap, you're stupid." But this is the first time I've ever mounted one of these. The first time I've ever seen one. I think AMD calls this the Wraith Spire CPU heatsink. And I had to remove the onboard cradle in order to install it, because it's got its own screws. So that wasn't too difficult, although they do make unsettling noises when you spin them. Now, the one piece of advice that I would like to give: do not over-tighten them. If you over-tighten them, you will find that they will either not come out when you go to bring it back out, or if you've got a cooler with screws on the back, this just has a back plate, but if it's got screws, like if it's, say, for example, the Hyper 212 Plus, where it's got the nuts on the back, they'll just end up twisting the standoff right out of the out of the thing, and that'll really ruin your day. So yeah, don't do that. Just tighten it until it stops. So I'm going to figure out where this plugs in. It plugs in over here. Unfortunately, I can't wrap it around the cooler. That's annoying. So I'm going to have to wrap it around this way. Figure out which way this goes in. Just like that. It's a 4-pin fan. Plugs in very nicely. I'm always very gentle with this new hardware because I don't want anything to go bad. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to get the case up here and I'm going to install the board in the case. Making sure, of course, that all the standoffs are in appropriate locations. Okay, got the I/O shield installed. It's not upside down or anything like that. So, a couple of things about this case. Because I've only got 4 serial ATA connectors and I'm going to be using all 4, I just pulled out that little eSATA adapter. USB 3.0 should be more than good enough. Or maybe I'll even just continue to use the 2.0, I don't know. But anyway, the one annoying thing, and I forgot about this about AMD motherboards, is that they are kind of an odd size. They'll go out to these, but they won't quite go out to these. It's somewhere in the middle. So, I'm going to leave those standoffs in the case, because it's not going to matter much. But there is space on the board for a standoff right here, and I don't have that option, so that's going to be kind of annoying. Hopefully it doesn't mean the board's going to get flexed too much. The other thing I'd like to point out, some of you who are used to, like me, working on the older ATX boards that used to have these massive grounding tabs that stuck out behind the on top, so they could touch the top of the plugs for grounding. It's very nice to see that these newer boards don't have that, because those are so annoying to try and install. But I gotta stop yanking and start working. I want to get this board in here and get it tested and see if it works. Okay, board's installed and I already hit my first snag. Probably should have known something when this didn't wrap around correctly, but I'm a dork. I put that cooler on backwards because that isn't going to work. It's not going to clear that RAM slot. So I'm going to have to see how difficult it would be to possibly remove this shroud. Maybe. See if I can change that fan around. Because I don't want to have to pull that cooler off, because if I pull that cooler off, I'm going to have to repaste it. So I guess we'll find out. It is coming together otherwise. Now I hit another snag, but this one was very easy to correct. This card had this big bracket on it. Now what this bracket is for, is it's for cases that have card guides on the end, if you remember those, for the full-size cards. And what it does is it keeps the card, or it goes in there, and it keeps the card from flexing downwards. But obviously, that will not fit in this case. Fortunately, a couple screws have that off of there. I'm really hoping that it doesn't need that. I don't know what it is. But I guess I'm going to find out. I think it's an expansion connector. There's for the power. I also just noticed that one of my SATA ports is underneath that, so I'm probably going to have a lot of fun trying to find a serial ATA cable that's going to plug into that. I'm going to need one that's right angle. I think they actually give you one. Maybe even 2. Yeah, there's one in here that is right angle, so I'll use that one for that. I'm going to have to pull a video card in order to install it. But I want to put the power supply in here, and I want to fire it up, because I want to see if it's going to work. Oh man, I don't think I've had this much stress level since I was in high school. I have one screw in the power supply, because I'm going to worry about all of that until after I see this thing work. Are you ready for this? I'm not, but I got to go through it anyway. No, it didn't blow up. I heard a beeping noise. Wonder what that's coming from. Give me just a minute. Okay, I'm a friggin' moron. I can't believe I forgot that. So I'm going to fix my RAM here, and I'll be right back. Let's see if it works now. That's a little better. Do I get video? Well, I hope so. Ooh, fan slowed down. Let me see here. Oh! Ha! It works! Sweet! Okay, let me, oh, I better go get a mouse. I guess I need a mouse for this. Well, maybe not. I'll go grab the keyboard out of the mess that I put it in while I was trying to debug this, and I'll be right back. Okay. PC health status. Reset case open, blah blah blah. vCore, VDDP. Well, it's a little low. Well, I'll assume that it's okay for now. I'd rather it be low than too high. Frequency. 2400. Good enough. I'm going to leave it alone before I go pushing anything. So, could probably have a little bit of fun with that. It's even set properly. Well, not quite, actually. I think it's a little bit... Yeah, it's a little off, but maybe I'll actually set that. Yeah, that's better. And it is 740. Alright. So all of that looks good. Does it give me temperature information? That was what I wanted to check. Doesn't give me temperatures. I was hoping it would give me temperatures. Alright. Well, I think that we are okay to continue. I'm loving how quiet this thing is. Battery power low. Well, I better plug in my camera. Went straight into the BIOS. Probably because there's nothing plugged into boot to. And it just goes right back in. Oh, hold on a minute. Here's the temperature. Oh, damn it. I wanted to read that. Oop. Heh. Yeah, 32. That's not bad for using a stock cooler and stock thermal paste. So I might just leave it alone. It looks like it's going good. That was the other thing I wanted to check. Oh, don't do that. Go away. Hey, well, I can't get it to go away. I wanted to see if it was running in dual channel mode before I go any further. Well, it's not in there. All these settings. Yeah, I don't want that. No. Because it doesn't tell you if it's in dual channel mode. Probably going to have to get out a mouse and deal with this. But I want to get the rest of this hooked up then. If I know that it's going to work, I think that I can get the rest of it hooked up. Okay, I got the optical drive installed. I'm going to hold off on installing the drive that's going to go here because that's in my current main rig and I need that for a bit. So I'm going to work on that after I have this machine all ready to go to replace it. So I got to put this in here, I got to plug it in, and I got to work on all that over there. So that's going to be the fun part. So I got to find screws for that. Okay, I got the SSD in its cradle here. It's like weightless. The only thing that really weighs anything is the tray that it's in. First I thought it wasn't even real. Yeah, I'm not used to these new things anymore. Or, I never really was I? Can't talk because I'm a dork. Anyway, here's how I'm going to do this. I've got this little plate here, which I'm going to need to use in order to install these drives. But I don't have the correct screws to do it. So I've inserted a screw there, and I'm going to put it in the metal here, and slide it down so it lines up with that notch. And then the other screw can hold onto the metal on the other edge. That's how I'm going to install both these drives. Well, that was a little bit more difficult than it needed to be, but after a little tiny case mod to undo something stupid Antec did, all those connections are in place. And what's more is I found out that when you use these, you aren't actually supposed to use the ones that are there in the bottom of the case, which you can't see. Let me turn the camera light on. Okay, that's a little better. Those screws right down there are not for use when you do this. I guess they're for use if you use it the other way around. So I just used the screws that came with the caddy, 3.5 inch for that, and I'm going to use the regular screws for installing this thing here. Which means I don't have to use any of those blasted Torx screws. Unfortunately, I did want to mount these things here outside the case, but it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to do that without any further case modification. And I am not in the mood right now, so I think I'm going to just forgo that and put the cover on, see if they're too loud. If they're too loud, we'll turn them down. And because I don't want them to be, full blast. They're not exactly quiet fans when they're on full blast, because I have a couple of them at service, but they're not too loud, really. They're better than the tiny 80mm ones, anyway. So I'm going to put the cover on, put this monitor up, and see what kind of noise this thing produces, and if it's going to actually work. Alright. Give me a minute. Oh, that sucks. Already blew up a power supply, so apparently 500 watts is not enough to run this. I don't know what killed it, because that's very interesting. Because I can't even get it to come on by shorting the PS on pin on the power supply, which I tested on another junker supply, and it did work by doing that. So, I don't really know. That's kind of weird. But I'm going to try and get this kind of hooked up. See if I can at least get my optical drive hooked up so I can run memtest. Then I'm probably going to buy a power supply tomorrow. Buy a bigger one. I'll probably get a modular one so I don't have to have all these cables junking up the inside of the case. Hopefully it comes back on after I did that. Now I plugged in the optical drive. So let's see, I want that. Instant on, it says. Alright. Let me get my Ultimate Boot CD. I don't know where I put it. Okay, I'm surprised that this older version of memtest 86 is actually detecting everything correctly. Look at that memory performance, though. That's, like, awesome. Completely smokes what I already have. Anything that I already have. So. Well, I'll let that run. Hopefully the computer is stable. Maybe I'll plug in the rest of the drives before I let this go for a full run. But I'm wondering if having all the fans, both of those drives, and all this beefy hardware on that is somehow to blame for blowing up the 5-volt standby on that power supply. That seems like an odd thing to blow, though, for an overvoltage condition. I had that power supply turned off while I was putting all this stuff in, so that's kind of weird. I don't know what happened there. But, well, I guess it just means I'm going to have to, memory type unknown. But I guess that just means I'm going to have to invest in a different power supply. Like I said, probably something modular. That means I don't have to have all these wires junking up the inside of the case. I think I might hook up a couple other things and just see what happens. And there we go. It is working. I have everything plugged in, which is kind of odd, so I don't think it was that. I think it was just a dud power supply. I guess those happen. This new one isn't even breaking a sweat. It's a little warm on the output, but other than that, the only thing that's really hot in here is this video card. That doesn't surprise me, because if I remember right, NVIDIA cards definitely run hot, so it's probably not being helped by the fact that it has no real cool air intake. So, and it's not too hot, really. It's not like uncomfortable or anything like that. So I'm probably going to put the cover on it, and then I'm going to eventually move it, because I would like to work on a couple other things tonight and get some of this stuff off my bench, and all of that. Put some of this away. I've made quite the mess out of the floor, so I'm going to have to do all that. But when I come back, I'm going to install an operating system on this and get that going. Okay, I'm sure that my operating system choice is going to offend a couple of die-hard users out there. So, hear me out here. I just spent the last probably about 10 minutes, actually no, probably even longer than that, maybe 20 minutes, trying to figure out what OS to install. First I tried Windows 7. My USB stick boots, but the USB drivers don't load. It probably has something to do with UEFI or something like that. I gotta go in and change settings, but I didn't feel like messing with it. So I did in fact try a Windows 10 disk. The Windows 10 disk won't boot. So, well, it does, but it crashes halfway through. So I'm going to have to remake that disk if I want to do this. So I just went with Windows 8.1. And we're going to leave it that way. I don't like Windows 10, so I'm really happy I don't have to fester my main computer with it. So, there you go. Really not pleased with Windows 8.1 either, but at least I can make that one better by installing a Start Menu program. I'd really like to get this done tonight, but I think it's going to take a little bit longer. Wow, that was a quick little process. I've already customized my color. I'm gonna give it an app name. You think this is a good idea? I think that's a good idea. Alright. So, let me customize. Automatically install important updates. Do not bother with that. Well, that's probably okay. That's definitely, actually no, I'm going to turn that off. Well, maybe I'll leave that on. That one probably is okay to have. Checking URLs and downloads, but I don't want the files and apps thing. That's kind of annoying. Leave all that crap off. Error reporting is fine. Sharing info off on location. Off on that. Doesn't need it. Everything else there is fine. Click on next. Sign into your PC. Give me just a minute. Didn't ask me for a Microsoft account. That's interesting. Check out the new way to use Windows. Oh, this is only Windows 8. Oh, that might be a problem. I hope not. Hopefully installing Windows 8.1 is very easy. That should be. The system is very quiet. I mean, it's not silent or anything like that, but very quiet. Very quick, too. Like, look at how fast that was. So I'm going to get this thing all ready to go with Windows 8.1 and come back. And these benchmark scores are pretty useless, and I think they got rid of them in Windows 8.1, but here they are just for your looking pleasure. 8.7, that smokes everything that I have in my collection. 6.7 is It's probably pretty obvious. I want to make sure that my RAM is actually running in dual channel mode. I think it is, but I'm going to find out. Because Memtest 86 didn't tell me, because that's an older version of Memtest, so it didn't have any idea what the hardware was, but I guess I'm going to have to look into that. And 8.2 for the... I don't know what it's actually testing, if it's testing the hard drive or the SSD, but... Because I know the hard drive is plugged into the second port, well, the SSDs, or sorry, it's the other way around. In an IDE system, the hard drive would be the master and the SSD would be the slave. That's about the best way that I can think of. My LAN actually is working out of the box. It's because I didn't plug in the cable. So is my network, which is good. So, I need the control panel again, because I'm going to install Windows updates. And then I'm going to try and install Windows 8.1. Probably going to put this machine downstairs to do all that. Hope that everything's going to work. This CPU graph is like awesome. I changed it to show all the cores. I love how like only the top 4 of them are actually being used. Okay. Just finished checking for updates. Holy crap. Wow. Quite a lot of those. And a bunch of optional ones. I'll just install everything because I'm crazy like that. So we'll see how well that works. So I want to get 8.1 installed before I go to bed tonight. Maybe get a couple of programs installed. Maybe even get my video editor on here and try out some video rendering. I think it'll be positively sweet. Even if the video card can't do much. I am going to have to change those SATA cables around because having disk 1 as C and disk 0 as not is going to drive me nuts. Because I'm picky like that. So, also loaded my temperature monitoring program. I don't know how accurate it is. I didn't know this thing could support individually addressed frequencies on cores. That's kind of cool. Though it only reads one temperature, which kind of sucks. But it's staying pretty cool, hovering around 46 to 52. I wouldn't exactly call it idling, so not bad. Especially for the stock cooler with the stock thermal paste. I would have expected it to have dried up at least somewhat by now. Oh yeah, I forgot about that little bug that Microsoft introduced into Windows. So, I have a little workaround here. Okay, got my pretty much all my software set installed on this machine. Just need to do some late breaking configuration stuff, and then it will be ready to go. Over here, I'm going to render a video on this machine, see how long it takes, and then when that's done, tomorrow, I'll put this machine into service and render a video on this and see how long it takes, because my video editor is installed and it seems to even be working. So that's good to see. Just have to configure everything how I had it, which might be a little bit of fun. For now, I've got to say good night and hope that it turns back on tomorrow morning. Sorry for the blinking, but this thing is even worse than I thought. It used to be better than this. I don't know why it's not focusing. But, of course, when you're rendering a video as well, the whole thing just kind of grinds to a halt. It's actually doing a little better now than it was a second ago, but... yeah, it's hitting this thing pretty good. And that's one video. I like to do multiple at once. So it'll really be interesting to see what the new one performs like. I'm running a backup right now so I can actually go over to the machine over there. It didn't die when I set it down overnight, so I'm going to wait for that backup to finish so I have an up-to-date listing of my files, and I can go ahead and restore that image to my drive. It'd probably be faster over the network than just doing it by taking the drive out, because I don't have any USB 3.0 enclosures other than that one down there, and I kind of need that one for this. So I can't use eSATA, which kind of sucks, but I can still use that USB 3.0 enclosure, so I'm going to get rid of the one USB 2.0 that's sitting right there. I have to get out a 5 1/4 to 3.5 inch bay adapter, which I do have. Wonder where my brackets went. I had a set of metal brackets. I might go find those instead of getting out the whole bay. Hold on just a minute. Wow, this thing's getting hot. Look at that. Holy crap. I wonder why one of my cores is so much hotter than the other one. That's kind of odd. Uneven applied thermal paste, perhaps? I didn't redo the paste on this. It's just whatever it had in it when I got it. And I'm probably going to have to redo the paste and clean out the fan because it's probably clogged with dust. But I'll save that all for later. I just want this to finish. It's still only at 91%, and that is still not done either. So this is going to take a while. Okay, I'm going to transfer this, restore image to Western Digital, copy partition, make it the maximum size, next, and finish. And the program just exploded. Hope that's going to work. Yep, I hope that is going to work. Probably won't be too fast. It's going over the Ethernet. It's going over the Ethernet, so. But it's still got to read off of that slow USB 2.0 hard drive. Of course, I don't really have any way of improving that. So, we'll see how long that takes. I'll screw restoring from backup. I'm going to just copy the files off the network. That's so much faster. So, still not overly fast or anything like that, but should be much better than trying to restore from that old slow USB 2.0 connected drive. Could always have just taken it and put it on this system, put it on the USB 3.0, but I don't care enough. Might as well just transfer it over the network because I don't have to touch anything yet. Okay. 6.5 hours later, it has finally rendered that video, so guess it's now time to pull all this junk out of here. At least get started with it. Make note of the videos that I have not rendered, because there are a couple of them, and then get started removing all this stuff, because I want to get some of these drives out of these cages. Get some of these cages put away. Here's my old Sieg or Sieg. Wow, that went way out of focus. I have no idea how you're supposed to pronounce that, but it was a 10-port USB hub that I think I got for something ridiculous, like $15 or something, when it was brand new a couple years ago. I couldn't figure out why it was so cheap, but I think I did figure it out. This thing has never worked right since I bought it. It's supposed to be powered. Ugh. I think that might be one of the reasons why it doesn't work. I didn't realize that it was all messed up like that. I've never forced a port in this thing, so I don't know how that happened, but this is probably broken back here. It's supposed to be powered. But I find when you plug USB hard drives, especially into this thing, they tend to disconnect themselves all the time, and it's very irritating. So, I'm not going to be reusing that with this existing setup. I'm going to be Or the new setup, I should say. Unless I have to, but I don't think I'm going to have to. Oh yeah, I remember when I picked this thing up. This one actually went super thermal on me once. Never did figure out why that was. It still seems to work. Probably because one of the ports one of the ports shorted or something, I don't know. But this one actually works, unlike the other one. Never had an issue with disconnections on this. Wow, it's like almost entirely empty under here now. It's almost bittersweet in a way. It's amazing. It reminds me of the days before I had all the USB drives hooked up to the system. I remember when my main rig had a, let's see if I can remember this, 320 gigabyte external hard drive. And that was more than enough. Those days are long gone. In a way, I almost miss the old days, but time moves forward. Anyway, I saw something back here that I think is very amusing, and you may have seen it too. Some of you might remember I had that old yellow Easy Eyes keyboard that basically causes carpal tunnel and does nothing else. I had it in my server corner. The keyboard actually broke, and it made me so angry when it broke that I took the thing and cracked it over my knee, and it exploded like all over the place. Yeah, found one of the keys there. So that can go in the trash. I'm going to clean this area up while I'm at it, because it's quite dirty back here. So when I pull all this stuff out, but I still got to wait for file transfers to finish before I can shut it down for the last time. Well, last time as a main rig, I'm still going to use it. Don't want to get rid of an i5 rig, so. But I just got to get these last couple of drives out of here, figure out where everything's plugged in at, and pull it out. Yep, quite a bit emptier now. Go over here. I busily kick things over because they defy gravity. There's the old Vantec Nexstar CX enclosure. I'm going to be getting rid of that. Well, take the drive out of it. It's actually got a 2 terabyte Toshiba drive. The original Toshiba enclosure failed, and I took the drive out and put it into that. And then the drive is actually going to go into this. The Vantec Nexstar, what is that? 6G? I don't even know. Ooh. Looks like I cut my finger open on something. I wouldn't be a computer built without some blood. So, anyway, this is a SATA 6 gig enclosure. It's got the videos drive in it right now. I'm going to take that out and put it inside the computer, and then the drive that's there is going to go into this. Yeah, that's probably going to hurt for a while. I think I'm going to have to go deal with that. And I'll finish clearing out all this stuff. Here's that Vantec enclosure with the Seagate drive in it. The Barracuda. Hope that it's not going to die when I take it out of there, because that would be about my luck. I've got my 5 1/4 inch bay. Unfortunately, is it this one? Yeah, it's this one. It's kind of messed up a little bit. I hope it's still going to work. Guess I'll find out. Okay, it's in place. That was not a very smooth installation. Of course, the reason why it wasn't so smooth is because my rails are a little messed up. At least that's what I can fathom anyway. They didn't really go in place correctly. So I'm probably going to have to either get a new set of rails or get a proper 5 1/4 to 3 1/2 inch bay adapter. The one benefit this may have, using the rails, is that I may still be able yet to put a USB 3.0 front panel thing in place, which would come in very handy for me, because this case does not have USB 3.0. Anyway, I'm going to make sure that all of my drives are set up correctly, and then it's time to get Old Faithful out and put this one in place. Oh, well, there's an issue. I don't know why Windows Update does this, but it's trying to install a driver that is of lower compatibility, at least according to what this error means, lower compatibility to what's already installed, the SM bus, so it's safe to just hide it. And we'll recheck for updates. And then I could put the cover on and actually get this set up. Alright, time to shut it down. And get this show on the road. And it's out. That looks significantly different. It's clean. Holy crap. Okay, time to get the goodies over here. Okay, got it all hooked up. How much do you want to bet that now that it's here, all hooked up, it's not going to work? Initially my concern was that there wasn't going to be enough space on this desk for it and the keyboard, but I think there's plenty. It works. So far. Well, I think we got a problem here. Give me just a minute. Yep, looks like a video card problem. Okay, it gave me a little bit of a panic there for a second because the card was not working even after I reseated it. It just took a little bit longer to initialize than I expected it to. So I'm going to put the screws back in and I'll put the cover back on and I will try booting it again and we'll see if it works after I do all of that. On the bright side, all the hardware looks like it's working. I have a mouse and all that. Do I have a keyboard? Let's see. Yep, I got a keyboard. Cool. Alright. Shut her down. Okay, it's now working with the cover on. At least it was. There it goes. Oh, man. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if it's because it's an older video card, a newer system, and it just doesn't agree with something that the system does. Here's a 4K video, just as a quick test. I have no speakers hooked up yet, but, well, where's Media Player Classic? Look for another app on this PC. MPC-HC64. Okay. Playing right off of my NAS, gigabit network. Yep, it is playing beautifully. My other system would not even come close. Let's just have a look here. Not even breaking a sweat. Yeah, not even breaking a sweat. That's awesome. Well, another piece of bad luck. My excellent IBM Aptiva speakers have apparently stopped working. That or they don't work with this system. So I'm stuck with these unfiltered pieces of crap until I can get better speakers or figure out what's wrong with the other ones. But I'm really kind of ticked off about that because the other speakers sounded great. These do not.
Alright, I've already disconnected all the cables because I know I'm going to have to pull this board out. Bulging capacitors all over the place.
Really sounds terrible, but I guess it's progress anyway. Well, good news after all. I figured out why my speaker wasn't working. So forgive all the loud crap that's coming from these. I just have it hooked up temporarily.
No case fan, when the case actually has a spot for a 92mm fan.
What was wrong? Very simple. I plugged in the wrong power supply. Power supply I plugged in was a 5-volt power supply, and these need 12. So that was not going to work. So now I gotta route all this wiring all over again. What fun.
Use the S-video output to run a TV.
That sounds so much better.
Actually in I believe a chiropractor's office. And
I don't even have the other channel hooked up yet.
We'll sit there and run a slideshow and then have the board end up being dead and have wasted all the time in all those capacitors. So when you warm up the soldering equipment.
Okay, here's the fun part. So it's the same video as previous. Now I gotta find my render template. Show the ones that are, I think it's that one. That's the Sony one. Is that the one I want? That's the only one that matches it. So I'm going to browse because I got to put it back in the location where it needs to go. Save, render, overwrite. Well, I wouldn't say it's a massive improvement, but it is. Yeah, it's definitely still rendering faster than it did previously. We'll see what the time remaining goes to. Okay, so it's about a 6 times performance increase doing high definition 60 frames per second video. But I think the biggest improvement is not so much in the rendering performance, but in the performance of the system. You can see this here. It's no longer bogging down the system. I can do other things if I wanted to. It works really nicely. If I go back over here, and let's see, let's go find something to play. And it works great. Not even breaking a sweat. Here's a standard definition video. It's like just zipping right through it. Wow. That looks like it's on fast forward. So, yeah. Even though I probably won't be doing too many HD videos because it still really kind of bogs a little bit. Yeah, standard definition is like a dream, and I could still use my computer, so. That's like an almost hour-long video, and it's going to take like less than 12 minutes. A little bit more than 12 minutes to render that. That's not bad. Not too bad on the temperature either. It is I think a little on the high side, but you gotta remember this is stock cooler and the heatsink paste that was on the cooler when it came here. If I cancel this out and the system is just idling, that temperature goes down quite a bit. Pretty quickly. Yeah, really quickly. So, I don't think that'll be too bad. I just gotta set this all back up the way I had it, and then everything will be peachy creamy. Alright, got this drive here. This is the Toshiba from the enclosure. 2 terabytes. It was a Canvio Basics drive that malfunctioned on me. So I've put it in here. We take it out of this enclosure. I'll put this enclosure away, and we'll put it in the new one. And there it is in the new caddy. Unfortunately, none of the screw holes line up with the back where the screws go. So, I could have used the 2.5 to 3.5 inch adapter bracket, but I don't really care. It's not going anywhere, so I didn't have one while it was in here either, and never had a problem, so I don't really care. Now I just got to put the little special metal thing on top of it, and then I can set it up. Okay, drive is installed. It is way back there. I have zoom here, I think. Yes, I do. You can see it way in back there. Quite a bit of zoom. Also put the finishing touches on the setup. I'm going to have to fiddle around with this life cam a little bit more than I have, because it is not working correctly. Installed the driver and all of that was great, and then no picture. So the microphone seems to work, but I have no picture, which is kind of useless. So I'm going to figure out why that's not working. In the meantime, I have this little webcam up here that I forgot that I had. I'm using that for everything. And the picture output actually isn't too bad on that. It's probably a little bit better than the life cam, so I may just leave it alone. But like I said, I put the finishing touches on it with the fans. And I got this fan here, which is extra. A little bit of breeze, which will be very nice in the summertime. I think that's pretty much it for this particular video. I got a lot of projects to get to. I got an HP computer I'm in the process of rebuilding. I got a compact outside I need to do something with. I've got, let's see, media center machine I got to deal with. I have a power supply jamboree I got to do because, of course, I had to pull the power supply out of that and had to put a inconvenient replacement in there, so that I pulled out of another machine, and then I got to put a power supply back in that machine and change power supplies around, so that's going to be real fun. I got a PF Sense box. Yeah, there's a lot of computer videos coming up, so, well, actually that's not really quite true. I'm scheduling videos straight into May and or June at this particular point. So while this one's going to come out for Christmas, you won't be seeing a lot of that stuff until a lot later. So, well, that's it for this video. We're done here. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below. And this is CP666 signing off. I don't know if I mentioned it, but yeah, that's an Asus drive. For all the trash talk that I did for Asus motherboards, I put an Asus drive in there. It seems to work, though. It's one of the few SATA optical drives I've got that actually does work properly. Most of them are those LG things, and those like to blow tray belts, so. Renders videos much better. And that was while I had 2 of them going as well. So, I'm not concerned at all with the speed of this thing. This right here, I'm just gonna, before I wrap up this video, I am going to justify a couple things, talk about my hardware choice, why I'm using this big old CRT, why I have a 4x3 monitor here, and some other things. The CRT, I like the color reproduction. It's much better than any LCD monitor that I could ever have. It's laying around, otherwise wouldn't have anything to do, so I gave it something to do. And most of the time I just leave it off anyways, so it's the second monitor that I use when I have tasks I want to get done. Now this monitor, again, it was laying around. I didn't have to go out and buy it. Spend however much money, probably over $100 on a new monitor that wouldn't have even fit on top of this. This 4x3 monitor fits here like a glove. Anything wider and it probably wouldn't have fit at all. So, means I could put the speaker right there instead of having to find somewhere else to put it. Like perhaps up there. I found the stereo was not very good with that speaker right there and this speaker way up there where it was. So I put it down here and it's much better now. It does get a little warm, 75 maximum, but it doesn't stay there. When it's rendering 2 videos at once and the CPU is at 100%, it hovers in the 60s. So that's not terrible, but it could probably be a little bit better. I don't think this case is necessarily the most well-ventilated thing in the world. It probably would help if I could turn those fan speeds up. So what I might do, what I'll probably do, is I will take the fan speed controls for those and mount them to the back of the case. There's a slot blank in there that doesn't go to a slot, so that blank is always going to be installed. I'll probably glue the fan speed control setting things to that. And when I'm doing something heavy, I can go to the back of the machine and turn the fan speeds up. They are blowing out of the case, which is good. I don't want them blowing into the case and pulling all the hot air from all this stuff into the case and making it even hotter. So that's how that's going to be set up. But once everything is settled down, it runs nice and cool. What else? The speed isn't really all that great, especially when doing HD 60 FPS. But the simple fact of the matter is, it is still quite a significant improvement. That's a 6 times improvement. Probably even a little bit more than that. Going from the old laptop to this. And the other big deal is that I can use my computer while it's rendering that video. On the other machine, I'd have to go do something else for those 6.5 hours that it's rendering, because it bogs it down so bad that you can't do anything else. So, that's really where all of it comes from. If I had a bigger video card in here, you know, a more modern one that could probably take advantage of more hardware acceleration, it will probably go a little bit faster than it is, but a new video card is also about $400, which is money I simply just don't have right now. So the Quadro will be good enough. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I needed to try and justify here. I don't really think so. I mean, the speakers are kind of old. Could probably get better speakers, but I don't care. And the reason why I have an optical drive in here is because I do still burn DVDs for operating systems for my older machines. And it's nice to have an optical drive here, so I don't have to go over here to that thing and turn that on every time I want to burn a DVD. It's very annoying to have to do that. So, nice to have. Probably not going to use it very often. It does also mean that I can move my CD ripping over to this machine, which would be very nice. Don't have to turn on anything else for that. A newer case would probably have better ventilation, USB 3.0 and all that, but again, I don't care. This was a free case. I can't complain too much. The only negative about it is this hole that was drilled in the bottom. It was drilled in the top and it was also drilled in the bottom of the case. Probably have to cover that up with something. But for now, I'm satisfied. And that's pretty much it for the video. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below. And this is CP666 signing off. And I hope to see you next time. Till then.